Hey everybody, I'm Ginger Healy from the Attachment Trauma Network, back with some more helpful advice on how to survive our staycation adventure. And in an earlier clip, I mentioned regulation and the importance of being able to regulate ourselves as caretakers so that we in turn can regulate our children. Regulation is so critical for safety for everyone in the home. So I thought I'd take a minute to really break it down. Self-regulation, I think we all know it's that calming of the stress response system in our bodies. It's the ability to have emotional and behavioral flexibility and control. We soothe ourselves because that cortisol, that stress hormone that's released by the adrenal glands during stressful situations, that helps us in that moment. The problem is when it gets too high for too long, it's really harmful. So the good news is that we can really learn about it and teach how to calm our nervous system to ourselves and to our children. There are so many things that we can do to model and demonstrate this to our children. There are great self-soothing techniques. And so we'll just touch on a few today. Our emotional responses occur on three different levels: the neurophysiological, the behavioral, and the cognitive. And like I mentioned, there are endless tools for each subcategory. We're just going to lightly touch on them today, and then I hope that you go on your own and find what works for you personally and for what works for your child, because everybody's different, right? So I want to start off with what I feel is probably one of the most important techniques for the autonomic nervous system, and that is the deep breathing. The great thing about breathing, mindful breathing, deep breathing, is that you can do it anywhere, anytime. And that's really important because meltdowns happen to occur everywhere, all the time, with some of our kids. And it's, deep breathing is free. It requires nothing extra. It's just something really powerful to shift our mind body state. So I just want to teach you a couple of them that I think are really fun that I like to use with my kids. The first one is volcanic breathing. And so what you're going to do is make a volcano with your hand. You're going to breathe in very deeply as long as you can as the volcano starts to kind of rise. And then guess what happens to the volcano? It explodes, right? It erupts. So on that eruption of the volcano, you're going to very slowly control that out exhalation. So, okay, you can do that over and over and over. I do want you to do it multiple times. The next one for the deep breathing is the rose and candle. You're going to cross the meridians of your body so that we're engaging both hemispheres of the brain. In this hand, you have a rose. In this hand, you have a candle. You're going to smell the rose. As long as you can take in that wonderful smelling rose, breathing it in, and then you're going to come over here and blow out the candle. So smell the rose, blow out the candle, and you're going to repeat that. You can do that. You can modify those kind of techniques in a lot of different ways. You can hiss like a snake on the exhalation. Blowing bubbles is another really great way to breathe in to get the breath and then blow the bubble. So hopefully you have bubbles in your home, or you can make them out of the Dawn soap. That's really important, because when we focus on the breathing deeply and fully, we just kind of are able to move out of that sympathetic nervous system, the fight flight, into our parasympathetic nervous system, which is, relaxation and receptivity. So we want to just consciously connect with and manipulate our breath and plug it into our communication highway. We got to link the body and the mind together. That's what I meant by crossing those hemispheres. And then, it just calms and soothes and supports our body. And so I hope I've kind of convinced you of that yet. The other thing, I really wanted to make it fun. If you've noticed in the previous videos, I've talked about how important that playfulness is. Laughter being so critical right now, breaking the tension and decreasing the fear in our home. So let's move on. Another regulation tool that I may have mentioned before, but is so important for everybody, is taking a break. So just don't underestimate the power of simply walking away, closing the door, taking a nap, having a do-over. One of my favorite do-over techniques that really works when we need to apologize. It's called the VCR rewind technique. And because I'm so old, I have to explain to my kids what a VCR is. But, there's the big buttons, the pause, the stop, the play, the rewind. And so I talk to them about when something happens, everybody's really upset, we pause, and then we push the rewind and we do a really fun slow motion walk backwards out of the room. And then we press play and come in and try again. And that really breaks the tension. It's a lot of fun. It sets a whole different emotional tone. And a lot of times after that, the incident is forgotten. But it also models how to apologize, how to give each other breaks and do a do-over, and a lot of good things. All right, moving on. Other regulation techniques: stretching, breathing, yoga, bilateral tapping, butterfly hugs, talking to friends. Really, I could go on here forever, and I wish we had time, but it doesn't matter so much what it is as long as you're implementing something to fill your cup and help you keep calm and in control, so that you can then help your kids be calm and in control and model that for them. For one kid, for us, it's putting them in the bathtub and letting them have the break and the water play and the warmth. Where another kid, it's like, go outside and ride your bike. Another kid, I know that I have to make sure they have eaten, and eaten often, lots of protein snacks. Feed and water your kids regularly. Keep the protein snacks coming. It will avoid a lot of meltdowns if you can do that. And focus on sleep. That's another thing that will really decrease the cortisol. Sensory play. I wish we had a whole lot of time to talk about the importance of sensory play in regulation, but Play-Doh and shaving cream, those are great ways to discharge anger and release tension. Climbing, crawling, moving, swinging, spinning, rocking, massage feet, back, hands. For some kids, that's not going to work depending on if they're hyposensitive versus hypersensitive. But just keep them really physically active. That exercise is so important in decreasing cortisol as well, especially if you can go outside and get that vitamin D. I'm going to really quickly mention some cognitive approaches to emotional self-regulation. And I leave this at the end for a very important reason, and that's because these really cannot be done until you and your child are calm. You cannot have a good sit-down chat with back and forth conversation if your child is not calm, and if you're not calm. They have to move from that amygdala into that prefrontal cortex. So don't even try talking to your kids until they are calm. Give it time and space. But once they are, these are so powerful and important to really do. And I want you to teach your kids to think about different ways of responding to situations that trigger those emotional outbursts. I like to backward chain with my kids, meaning the end of the chain is the blow up and what happened, but what happened before that? And what happened before that, until we can get kind of to the very beginning of, oh, that's what happened at the very beginning. If we would have gone about it in a different way, we wouldn't have ended up over here. So those are the kind of conversations that really help. Role playing is a powerful tool in giving them confidence and helping them be able to practice. It gives them a lot of feeling of control. So those are great things that you can do with your kids. Practice sharing, making choices, and then discuss what consequences might be appropriate for each response. Practice positive self-talk. Have them repeat to themselves, I can stay calm. I can do this. And teaching them how to control their emotions and tools will really help them find that control that they just desperately seek during times when they're surrounded by fear and dealing with all this cortisol. So it'll help them actively decrease that heart rate, calm their nerves. And so I'm just going to end this with a lot of support and hope, and keep sending you tools and ideas as we move through this adventurous time, let's call it. Thanks so much for listening, and we will talk again soon.